Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you enjoy dancing along to that little tune as much as I do. My name is Ellie, if we've not met before, and I am part of the schools team with Southampton City Mission. Now, normally with the schools team, we would be in school right now doing question of faith days, assemblies, lots of year 6 transition support at this time of year. But of course, with the current pandemic, that's not the safest thing to be doing. So instead, we are coming to you live over Facebook and YouTube. If you haven't yet liked, followed or subscribed, make sure you do all of that. All of the details are scrolling along the bottom throughout this assembly. So what are we doing with these online assemblies? Well, if you were watching last week, you would have seen that we started our Meet the Team, and we are continuing that this week, where every day at 3 o'clock, we are introducing you to part of the schools team. These are the amazing volunteers who come into schools with us. And we thought, well, we're not allowed in school at the moment, but when we are allowed back, hopefully next term, then it'll be great if you know a little bit more about us. So we are introducing you to one of our team members, and today I am going to be joined by Dan. So in just a moment, I'll invite him into the screen. But I just want to let you know that if you are watching live, you can join in the conversation. Make sure you say hello in the comments. Make sure you comment any questions that you might have for Dan. And then once we've done all of those questions, we can maybe have a go at answering yours as well. So without further ado, I think it's about time I brought today's guest in to join us. Good afternoon, Dan.
Good afternoon, Ellie, and everyone else.
Fantastic. It's lovely to have you with us. I wonder if you could perhaps just share a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to everyone.
Sure. Yeah, my name's Dan, as you've already been told. I work for City Life Church. I'm one of the leaders there. And I've worked for City Life for probably the last 20 years now. I came to Southampton as a student and then got involved in working for the church straight after that, and have been there ever since. Part of my role currently involves working with those who find themselves homeless, and particularly trying to help them find housing solutions. So we're in the process of starting a housing project, and we are opening our first house very shortly, and in the process of buying our second. So enough to keep me busy.
Absolutely, fantastic. Well, that leads in very nicely to my first prepared question that I have for you today, which I think you've started to answer already. We would like to know, what do you get up to when you're not volunteering with Southampton City Mission?
Yeah, so as you've heard, I work for the church, for City Life Church, and I'm starting a homeless housing thing. I am, outside of City Mission, involved with Bassett Green School. I'm a governor there, I'm a staff chaplain there, and I have 2 kids who go there. So I'm quite involved in the school and in the life of the school. Just before lockdown, we got a dog as a family as well. I've probably wanted a dog for many years. I grew up with dogs, but it's taken a while to convince my wife. So we've got a new dog, and she's taken up a bit of my time as well, having to walk her a couple of times a day and those kind of things. So, you know, lots going on in life.
Fantastic. I have to ask, what is the name of your dog?
She's called Aurora.
Aurora, like Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah. It was the name she came with. She was a rescue dog, and we decided we liked it, so didn't change it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. So my next question, which we actually get asked a lot when we go into schools, kind of the children want to know about all the team leaders, is how or why did you become a Christian? Because all of our team leaders are a Christian. They've chosen at some point to follow Jesus. But how did that happen for you, Dan?
I'm going to drink my coffee while I answer this one.
Oh, absolutely.
Another passion, actually, of mine, coffee.
I was going to say, that looks very fancy.
Yeah, it looks fancy. It looks fancier than it is, probably. So I wasn't brought up Christian. I didn't come from a Christian family, and when I was growing up, I didn't really ever think about the possibility of God existing. I only really thought in life about the things I could probably see and feel and touch. It was the world around me. That was my little bubble where I was all I really ever thought of, and I didn't think about probably the bigger questions. Many of my family were atheists, some of them quite actively so, to the point where they would have atheist Bibles to try and disprove the existence of God. Anyway, when I was probably in junior school, my granddad was not particularly well. He had a number of heart attacks in a fairly short space of time, and my grandparents sold their house, my parents sold their house, and we bought a house together with an annex. And so my grandparents lived with us, and we were, obviously very close as a family, picking up from school. And those kind of things. And I remember one day coming home from school and the ambulance being outside the house. It wasn't the first time, but as it turned out, my granddad had a fairly major heart attack and was taken in to hospital, and he died. And that started my whole family on this journey of kind of questioning what we believed. It almost forced us, I think, to think beyond the immediate and to begin thinking about, well, is there, life after death? Is there more than what we can just see? And my parents had some friends who were Christians, who'd been praying for them for a while. They happened to go and start talking to them about their grief and began processing that. And through that process, they became Christians. They found Jesus and began going to church. It wasn't quite so quick for me. I found that I didn't really know how to process my grief, and I became angry with a God who I didn't really believe existed, which is an awkward place to be. And so I remember going to church, and I was quite disruptive. I used to get kicked out of Sunday school. I got the nickname Pooligan from church because my surname's Pooley, and I was a little bit of a hooligan. But eventually, I think during that process of encountering the grace of some of the people within the church, and then I think no matter what anger and frustrations I threw at this kind of God who I wasn't sure existed, all I found coming back in return was love and kindness. And I remember going on a Christian festival kind of thing, Spring Harvest, for those out there who know it, and discovering, I think, something of who God really was whilst there. And I remember there was an opportunity to respond, and I did the thing that I wouldn't probably recommend other people to do. I created a deal with God, which basically said, if ever you let me down, I'm off. But you're welcome to me as long as you're good. It was like I was giving God a good deal. And I think over the first 5 years or so, after having made that decision, God was very gracious. I remember having answered prayers and feeling comfort in those times where I knew that they were difficult, the kind of anniversaries of my granddad's death and those kind of things. And after about 5 years or so, I realized that actually I didn't really need that deal in place anymore, that God was truly who he said he was, that he was gracious and kind and loving, and I could put my full weight of trust in him without having to have some kind of contract in place. And so, I gave my life probably wholeheartedly then at that point.
Amazing.
So, that was me.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Dan. I just love how we've been doing these assemblies for a week now, kind of meeting the team, and we've always asked everyone to share their story of how they became a Christian. And every person is slightly different, but I just love hearing and being encouraged by those. So thank you so much for sharing that. If you do have any questions for Dan, make sure that you get those in, but I've got a couple more for you first. So you probably know, not just with the team at Southampton City Mission, but with what you do at Bassett Green as well, that Christians love stories, particularly from the Bible. And my next question for you is, what is your favourite story from the Bible?
There's lots. I mean, I've got lots of favourite passages. In fact, I was talking to a small group this morning about my favourite chapter in the Bible, but it doesn't have any stories in. That chapter is Romans 8, which I think is probably a favourite for lots of people, but I didn't pick that because that's not a story. So my favourite story is the one you can find it in Matthew 9, Mark 5, and Luke 8. It's the story where Jesus is on his way to Jairus' house to go and heal his daughter, and this woman with the issue of bleeding comes up, sneaks in through the crowd and grabs hold of the edge of Jesus' clothing and receives her healing. And there's a number of reasons why I love this story. One, and probably the first one, is that this woman was an outcast. She'd spent all her money. No one wanted to go near her. She was the lowest of the low in society, regarded as ritually unclean. And when she receives her healing, you'd kind of, I guess she was probably hoping that she'd receive her healing and then be able to slip away in the crowd. But Jesus turns around and he picks her out in front of absolutely everybody. And you kind of think, oh no, that's the last thing she wanted. But him, the one that they were all gathering around to see, then calls her daughter, and he restores her honor and he restores her into community. So not only did she receive the things she hoped for, she received all that she didn't even dare to dream for. And I love that story because of that. But also, I don't know about you, but I think often most of us feel pressured by situations. We feel pressured by other people's expectations, by demands placed upon us. And you must, you imagine Jairus is, this well-respected guy. He's bringing Jesus to his home because his daughter is critically ill and about to die. And there's the pressure, Jesus knows that he's going there to heal her. And if he doesn't arrive in time, she'll likely die. And then he takes the time in the middle of all that pressure to stop and give attention to this bleeding woman, to pick her out and give her everything she wanted and more. He wasn't pressured by expectations or opinions or anything else. And he had time for people in order to restore them to who they were created to be. And, Jairus's servants come out and say, actually, it's too late. She's already died. But Jesus then says, I'm still not going to bow to the pressure. And he just continues on saying, don't worry, have faith, she'll be fine. And he goes and raises her from the dead. And for me, for somebody who gets, I guess, pressured in life by the expectations and demands of others, it's good to know that there is another way of living, another agenda, and the ability to manage to fit it all in and do so with kind of grace and bringing about the best for people rather than brushing them off because I haven't got time for that. So it's a great story.
That is a brilliant story. That is one we share quite a lot in schools, but I've never heard someone kind of pick it as their favourite before. So that's really encouraging. Thank you so much. So we've got a few questions coming in, a few people wanting to say hello to, a few people watching on YouTube. Hello if you are Warlord or J4Y. If you've got any questions for Dan, make sure you comment those as well. But before we go to those questions, I've got one final one for you of our pre-prepared questions. And I would love to know, what do you like most about being part of the Southampton City Mission Schools team?
I think for me, because I obviously have a connection with Bassett Green, with my kids there, being a governor, being a chaplain, I'm regularly in and out. And given my story of having never really thought beyond what I could see or feel or touch, one of the things I really enjoy is being able to go in and help children and also staff begin to explore and think about some of the bigger things, stuff that maybe in life are easy to ignore because we only focus on what we can see. So some of those questions of faith, life, death, the universe, and anything in between, just being able to be involved in prompting thoughts and discussions. So I enjoy that.
That's a fantastic answer. Couldn't agree more. I like that. So actually, yeah, those of you who are children who are watching know we're not coming just for you. Even your teachers like having us in and joining in with all the activities that we get up to. Absolutely. So we have got a few questions. Firstly, Matt would like to say he really appreciates your SEM Blue branded T-shirt that you've gone for today.
Yeah. I don't have a logo, and I don't even have my badge on. I thought about wearing the lanyard, but what with dropping my phone in the toilet just before, I didn't end up having time to find it. So
yeah, very impressed Dan has made it here and looking very cool and collected because he did drop his phone in the toilet just before we went live, apparently. So I'm impressed. Matt would like to know, how does knowing God help you in times of big change? We know a lot of people are kind of getting ready to go through a time of change, especially those year sixes preparing to move to secondary school. So how does knowing God help you in those situations?
Well, I mean, interestingly, I'm the kind of person that actually quite likes change. So I'm the odd person. I know lots of people don't, but I enjoy change and thrive on, I guess, the kind of new thing and wanting to be involved. I'm not necessarily an early adopter of technology or anything like that, but I do enjoy changing things up, not just for change's sake, but where I think there is a reason where you can see benefit. And I think knowing God in the midst of that provides a level of security because God is completely unchanging. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's always trustworthy, which means I can navigate through those changes, recognizing I've kind of got an anchor point. I've got something to navigate by that will mean there's a level of security in it, even if everything else begins to change. And I think before I became a Christian, that wasn't the case. I was nervous about absolutely everything. I didn't like change. Everything should be the same all the time, even down to my meal choices. I would have to have rice every day, for example. That kind of thing. You throw me with putting pasta in the menu, that would be terrible. So yeah, since becoming a Christian, I've begun to enjoy change, because I think I know that there is a level of security in my relationship with God that cannot be shifted.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Matt would like to say great answer. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Matt.
I think that's all the bonus questions we've had in. But I wondered, Dan, if you would be happy to kind of end our time together by leading us in prayer.
Yeah, sure. One of the things I've been thinking about recently, being a governor and seeing my kids in school, is obviously how schools are going to cope with the reopening in September, and a lot of the challenges that I know staff and particular senior leaders are under in planning for that. So I'm going to pray for that, but also I've got my kids have got friends who are in year 6. Most of those haven't really been able to have a goodbye celebration, see their friends, and they're having an odd transition. So I'm going to pray for them as well, if that's all right.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So Jesus, I know that you are the same yesterday, today, and forever. I know that even though we don't know what the future holds, we know you, and you hold the future. And Jesus, with all the uncertainty around the current pandemic, with all the uncertainty around how schools are going to manage to cope with fully reopening in September and managing social distancing and bubbles and all those kind of things, I just want to pray for the senior leaders and for the schools that are planning for those changes right now. Would you give them peace and wisdom as they put those plans into process, in order that the schools that they represent can be safe and secure for the children and the families that attend. And Jesus, for those children who particularly are in year 6 and haven't been able to finish off their time in junior school and are having to transition to secondary school, Jesus, we know that could be a daunting process. And this year in particular, it is even more different. And Jesus, I want to pray for them for a peace and a supernatural confidence that as they enter into year 7 and begin secondary school, that actually the bubbles and the processes that have been put in place to keep them safe will add a layer of security for them, that they would be confident and excited and enjoy their time as they go up to secondary school. And pray your blessing on them and on the schools that are preparing for change. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Dan, thank you so much. And absolutely, that is a prayer that kind of all the team at Southampton City Mission are praying for, especially those year 6s who are getting ready in this very strange time. Dan, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. I will leave you to go and check out your phone now. Hopefully it's still in working condition. But thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much to Dan and to all of the team leaders that have been joining us over this last week. That is not the end of our assemblies. As I said, we are continuing with another Meet the Team throughout the rest of this week. And tomorrow is a bit of a special one because we are going to be joined again by Bob Hartman. So those of you that might have been watching a couple of weeks ago, Bob Hartman is a honorary team member for Southampton City Mission. And that's because we absolutely love the books that he is the author of. I particularly am a fan of Bob Hartman's Rhyming Bible. So Matt will be joining us tomorrow with Bob Hartman's voice and face this time. I know last time he had some technical difficulties. We were able to hear him, but tomorrow we should get to see him as well, which will be very exciting. So I hope you can join us for that. One other thing I want to let you know about is, of course, our circle selfies. If you have not heard about this yet, then make sure you go to southamptoncitymission.co.uk/schools/circle-selfies. It's there on the screen now. This is a city-wide art challenge that we have set all year 6s. We want you to draw your selfie, draw your self-portrait, send it back to us, and we're going to collaborate all of them together to make a huge art piece. So we would love for everyone to get involved with that. For now, though, I want to say have a brilliant rest of your day. I hope you enjoy the sunshine. It's a little bit sunny here. And don't forget to come back and join us again tomorrow. Bye, everyone. Stay safe.